He has a 1-1 count. That one's struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's out of here off the ropes. You have to be kidding me. Here you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and welcome all as we are officially into the 2025 campaign. And I say that with the first week officially wrapped up, done with. And as always, we start every new week during the season as we give you some updated looks at where teams are at with our team rankings, brought to you by RDA Financial for helping to bring us these and again to help bring us a lot of fun throughout the season. So make sure to check out a lot, including the prospect planner. But for right now, we are diving into our updated team rankings, and it's not just myself, Cade Nissen joining me as well as we get the chance to rock this together, and our first time of the 2025 campaign doing this. So happy to be here. It took a long time. Week one seemed fantastic and a lot to talk about, but happy to dive into what will be an exciting shift across all four classes.
Yeah, Andrew, weather wasn't too great to start the week, but I'd say we still got a lot of baseball and not too much action in the small classes with state track. I know a lot of those guys depending on those kids to go run around the blue oval. So state track's out of the way, and I'd say this is a real full week of baseball ahead, and I know we're excited to get into it, and we're excited to see where some shifts are because we got some pretty decent
Yeah.
changes already inside the rankings. I know it's pretty early, but we still got some significant movement across the polls.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I think when we talk about movement here, yes, it's week one, but man, it depends on where your games were, what got rained out, what did not. Like you said, weather never played fair this week. So
Mm-mm.
I just think it's let's dive into it here, and ladies and gentlemen, how this works. We love to go through the classes, and as always. I think it's really good. I think we're starting with the 1A scene here
Yes, I
as
would.
we get the chance to kind of rock this in fun fashion. As we get to rock this in, usually this is kind of the chance where you can get the chance to look at it, see where things are shaping up, how they're determined. And again, this brought to you by the great folks at RDA Financial for helping this to make this possible. But as you can see there, here's the look that we have. And if you see the green, obviously they're moving up. You see the yellow, new guys. Otherwise, they're heading either neutral or down. So as you get a look there, a couple of teams that really come to my eye here, Kate, first and foremost. One, Galen Catholic last year to me was a team that was on the precipice of really a breakout year, and they just couldn't quite get over that hump. They didn't go near as far as they wanted to in the postseason, but I think that this is a team already showing good promise. Only a couple games under their belt week one. So take it with a grain of salt, but I think they're on the way up for sure. I like where they're at. And then a team that I was pretty high on. I really enjoyed Martinsdale St. Mary's, and
Mm,
I love them a lot because Coach Fitzpatrick is a guy you'd run through a brick wall for, and he truly he is that guy. It's a week that featured a top 10 split against Bedford, which you and I have talked about Bedford and what they're capable of. With 3 total wins, it's really an encouraging sign because the schedule will get harder. Coming on up, they have Southeast Warren, Easton Valley, Maquoketa. It's just they still got some tough teams coming up this next week. So I like Martinsdale St. Mary's, and again, I love Galen Catholic, who will be taking on a good 4 games or 3 game slate here in this week, next coming week. So yeah, there's a lot of shakeup here, but man, there's this is the fun time of year where we kind of get to start and kind of I guess look into our crystal ball a bit, but those are the 2 teams that really kind of stood out to me as we start this for 1A.
Yeah, no doubt, Andrew. We talked about Bedford a lot in the preseason. I think it was a little bit of a jip that they weren't in the preseason poll, but you can see our 1A ranker adjusting pretty quickly here. I mean, here they are already in the top 10, right there at number 10. I think that's a good spot for them. And with what they have coming back from a team that made Merchants Park last year, I mean, Bedford looks like a team that's going to be solid. We've talked about Clement Olney and that pitching staff. They look pretty good to start the year, and I think 10's a good spot for them right now. Definitely can get higher. The team that stood out for me though, how about Key High? 4 wins, put up double digits in all of them, and in those 4 wins, pitching staff allowed just 3 earned runs. They're led by Dalton Mutterman on the hill. Key High, just always a fun team, Andrew. I mean, they're one of the more successful programs in the entire state of Iowa, so we always love giving love to the Key Hawks, and they always love giving us some love on socials. So jumping up 4 spots from 16 to 12, Key High is off to a hot start in Class 1A.
Yeah, and truly, one of the things that I hear a lot, and I know this is MLB, and I know is they say, well, you can't lose the championship here in May, or in our case May, but you can sure lose it, right? And these are teams that you see right now that are up and are putting up good work. And Cade, you have talked about it before. These are teams we're going to see at the next level as well. We're going to see them. We're going to see them deep into the postseason. So, again, love where they're at and love where they're headed. But now I think is the time to transfer a little bit to the next class. And again, week one always kind of hit and miss, right? There's no week zero or anything. Baseball goes right into it and gets to it. Class 2A for me had a lot more, I guess, stand pat teams.
Yeah.
You know, uh, in the end, 7 through 3, as you can see, didn't not a whole lot of movement. Again, week one, not you can't get too much in there, but a team that I really liked, and I mean had a big jump, in fact, proved why they had a lot of attention last year is I-35. I mean, when you start 4-0, you can't be upset about this. I mean, 4 games in, all won by 10 plus runs. Now I know that it's early and you can dog on competition all you want, but that's what good teams do. They win by big numbers and won't have a true when you talk about competitive gauge right out of the gate, you get all the nerves out. It's kind of good. It's eye popping numbers from a team that won 22 games last year. So, they don't have their top guy from last year's, but that's okay. In the end, I-35 still puts up a lot, and this is a team that's going to be there. I think I could swear they're going to be there when it matters most here. And again, they've got some guys who have done some big numbers. Tate Fitch is just a sophomore, and he's already pulling up. We've seen this every year from them. You got 2 sophomores at the top of that lineup with near 10 plus total bases so far, and it's only been through a handful of games. So those are guys you're going to see lead quite a bit this year. It's going to be a fun one, and their pitching staff is going to also be a little bit new, but Jaisma Masters. They're coming through for you as well. So I-35 is a team that really stands out to me. I like where they're at. Um, but also a kind of a big shout out. Mediapolis is a team that's been knocking on the door quite a bit. They have a good slate coming on up. They could be a team that goes and vaults from 16 on up. So, Fort Madison is a solid 3A win for them, and they've got more coming on up. So add more to the conversation with Mediapolis as well.
Yeah, I'll double up and talk about the second new team. And I mean, the Cyclones of Denver are very well deserving in the poll. I mean, this team in their first week, Andrew, only hit 230 collectively, but they've tallied wins over Waverly Shell Rock, Newman Catholic, and now number 2 West Marshall in a doubleheader split with the Trojans. So that's not a bad first week resume, and it's behind good pitching with Rossler and McEwen. And I mean, the pitching's played well, and the hitting has been timely. And here you are, Denver, 3 out of the first 4, and I'd say those are 3 all quality wins over teams
Oh yeah.
either ranked a class below or solid in a class ahead. And then obviously the number 2 team in their class, they've already got a win over. So that's only going to bode well down the stretch for the Cyclones. I really like the start they're on in Class 2A, Andrew.
Oh, it's a tear. And they remind me a lot of what we saw from Appleton Parkersburg last year. I mean, just get it done. It's that mentality of just get it done, make it happen, make it work. I think they did a
Absolutely.
phenomenal job. So I can't agree anymore with that pick for you. But I think as we transition now over to 3A, I think that there's going to be a lot of agreement there as well. And I say that mainly from the standpoint as you can look, not a whole lot of necessarily movement, but a couple teams that really kind of stood to mind that stood out to me as I look at it, man. One, I got to say, we had an epic matchup between Pella and CCA.
Yeah.
Love that matchup. Pella, we saw them find their way into the state tournament last year. And now they are one of the teams that everybody's focused in on. They did absolutely excuse me, they had an absolutely stellar season, and they're starting it off just as strong here. A team that also wanted to hit up on, Sergeant Bluff Luton. You know, this is a team that's looking strong. They're sixth overall through the first week in 3A in hits. You know, and again, they haven't lost anybody. You know, and you look at the guys when it comes from freshmen to seniors, it's just dotted with Sergeant Bluff Luton Warriors. You know, with the fact that they rest top four in strikeouts as well tells me a lot. It's showcasing a squad that looks and is highly looking for that seventh state tournament trip. And they've got a schedule coming up this next week, which really can put rubber to the road. You know, Council Bluffs, Abraham Lincoln, Sioux City East, Harlan, and St. Albert. You know, not nobody, no cupcakes in that schedule here. I like what they have. I like where they're headed. I think there's a lot to be liked of Coach Nelson and what his program's got going on there. But I will also say that there were some teams who just didn't get any action. You know, I will say it's been tough for Western Dubuque, who had three double headers scheduled. All of them got rained out. So this was the one team that didn't get a single bit in. Of course, MOC Floyd Valley as well. But you know, I got to give a shout out to Coach Bryant and everything that they're having to go through right now. Last thing here, I don't usually do this, but a couple teams that didn't do as hot. You know, I want to give a shout out to Davenport Assumption, who took on three of Illinois' top teams. That's right. They went out of state to take on three of Illinois' top programs. They didn't come out with a win there, but in the end, they're still without a loss to any Iowa-based team. And I think it's for them. If I had to guess where this was going, that would be kind of my route. You know, other teams did well ahead of them, and they kind of moved. You see, see the Bulldogs have moved up there as well, but I think this is a team that's still very deserving of a top 10 bid. And also North Polk, I got to see them take on the seventh rated at the time, the seventh rated Waukee Northwest Wolves, and it was a heck of a two-game battle. They nearly came back from a 5-0 deficit in the first inning. They nearly stormed back to split that one. I think their ranking might have been different had they done that, but North Polk has some cannons in the outfield. They have one of the best defenses that you'll see in 3A. So I just wanted to give a shout out. Yeah, they went 1-2, but look at who they played. And this coming on up, they have Carlisle, Norwalk, Hampton, Dumont, Cal. Very solid teams that can do some damage here. So they can still improve their standings, still very much in it. But I think for them too, don't count out the Comets because they are just as beneficial. Even if they may be without Chase Yellen for a little bit, he went down with an injury. We'll see how he ends up. Didn't really get the final word on where he's headed, but still, that team nearly won that second game without him. So, again, got to give a shout out to the Comets here.
Yeah, you talk about North Polk, Andrew, and when I look at Algona, I kind of see like a Cook Rogge duo that we had with the comments last year. I mean, we talked about Algona and this pitching staff that brought back literally everybody. And this week in 2 games, they only had to use 2 guys, and that's because Tate Slagle went 7 innings, 3 hits, 17 Ks, and then his counterpart Aiden Ulrich pitched in the first game, 7 innings, 1 hit, 17 Ks. So I'm not sure of many duos that have ever tallied 17 Ks in a same week, but that list can't be very long. And that's going to be a team that's extremely scary. I wanted to give a shout at them because that's just a mind-boggling stat. But Boone, I got a chance to see them too. And this is a team in the Raccoon River that I could see being very, very dangerous. When you got a top three of Lucas Moore, Noah Davies, and Dylan England, I mean, those are all guys that can play very well at the next level, let alone at high school ball. And that offense showed up against Des Moines Christian in the game that I was at, grinded out a 14-13 win, and that's a 1-2-3 in a pretty tough conference. That's gonna go toe to toe with everybody. If they can find some consistent pitching, boy, the Toreadors. I liked what I saw from them, Andrew. I know you're high on them too.
Well, yeah, I think they've got the offense figured out. This marked the second highest run total for through the first 3 games that they've had over the past 5+ years. I what you saw was an absolute stellar game for them. They find a way to win. I think if teams try and get in a track meet with them, Boone's just going to out hit you, outscore you.
Yeah.
So this is it truly is a fun team to watch. I think that it just shows though, Cade, that the Raccoon River Conference is still there. They never left. And despite the teams at the top, i.e., North Polk, losing guys, there's still going to be a track meet, excuse me. And I would also say that got to give some shout outs going their way, some honorable mentions here, teams that aren't there that may have a chance to move up. Got to give a shout out to Xavier, who took down Marion 5-2. Of course, Tate Proskovic, got the chance to watch him, the methodical machine that he is. He really mixes that zone up and down, makes you kind of guessing where that zone's going to end up. But I also, again, Raccoon River Conference shout out Carlisle. They're also undefeated, I believe, on the season, and they had a good, strong start. Their pitching is solid. I think they bring back enough of that to go really deep. But also Humboldt, Sadell, and Des Moines Christian, I think are teams that you're going to have to watch out for because those are teams that are really knocking on the door for a top 16 bid as well. So make sure tune in for those. And again, just tune back next week. We may have some new guys in there as well. Speaking about new, 4A had some new. And
Plenty.
as we look at that, you like that transition? I think I
That
did
was
pretty good
good.
there.
That was really
Yeah.
good.
Thanks.
I can tell you've
And
been doing this for a while.
there you go. There you go. I once or twice. But there's some of the new guys really jumped up, and it was really fun to watch them. But some of the teams that really stood out to me, I gotta say, first and foremost, a big shout out to Waukee. Waukee, I mean, are you kidding me with them right now? They have been. It just seems like they didn't miss a beat. Meeker, by the way, if you don't know that name, you should get out of the rock that you're living under because he was absolutely stellar. He had a 2 home run game, which ended up, postponement. You come back to it, it still counts in the record book. So in the end, I'm going to give it to him. This is a team that already has 4 games in which they've posted up 10 or more runs, and it hasn't really been close. The only close game they've had so far, Lewis Central, they ended up going deep into the game to win that one, but that was the only game in which it's been, I guess, 5 runs or less. So otherwise it's been nothing but pure power, striking the ball all across the field. And when you have a D1 infield like they have right now, it's hard to go against that. I mean, Sorensen obviously showing what he's capable of. Matt Meeker, as we mentioned, he's blowing it off the ball. Already 14 RBIs in this season alone at 6 games. That's hard to do. And how does he do it? Well, he's already 6 extra base hits, 4 of which are for the long ball home runs. But you got to like what they've got going on here. DeJesus, Sorensen, Meeker, even Biggs and Johnson. I want to give those two shout outs, the freshman sophomore duo or freshman senior duo. This is a team that's, I think, not only bound to get back to the state tournament, but I think they have a real good shot. One of my big teams to push for a state title this year. Love where they're headed. They're absolutely phenomenal. And then I also I got to give a shout out to Sioux City East as well. Uh, you do what you need to do. Black Raiders put up with some big offensive numbers here in week one. They get 4 wins. This is a schedule that's only going to ramp up from here, and so they did what they needed to do. I think they're going to get it done again. And as long as this team keeps chugging along, Cade, you and I talked about it. The experience that this team has without having lost anybody, that's just so invaluable. Obviously, Thieler is there, but Lincoln McCaffrey as well is a guy that you have to tune into as well. Not only did he tag me when I was at practice with him there, but he has tagged the ball pretty well there. I like where they're at. Again, so much to like about Sioux City East and what the Black Raiders are up to right now. 4-1. I guarantee you they will be back this week. And again, it's a tough week. Again, I won't say that, but Coling, McCaffrey, Claiborne as well. That sophomore is absolutely electric. So far, they had 3 guys with 10 or more total bases. They're going to do very well, but that's without mentioning some of the new guys here, Kate, and some of the new guys into this roster. I'll let you take on this, but there's been some heat coming out of some of these newbies.
Yeah, I no doubt. I mean, Bettendorf was the first team that pops off, and obviously they got a well deserved uh, bump into our rankings. And you talk about Wrigley Mathis, 18 total bases, 5 stolen bags. I mean, he's going to go out and do it. And this team had a really impressive week, and it ended with a win at the Herkelman against Ankeny Centennial, and I think that's what really boasted them over. I mean, they beat Iowa City Liberty, beat Williamsburg, beat Burlington, beat CR Wash, and then fell to Solon. But this is a team that got out of the gates really quick, and Bettendorf is a team that's only on the rise from here, and you can see in the rankings. And then a couple CIML teams that maybe kind of get swept under the rug a little bit. Southeast Polk and Urbandale both coming out and having impressive wins. I mean, look at Urbandale. They go out and they walk off DCG and split a doubleheader. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a huge win. That's putting Urbandale on the map right away in the season, and that positive momentum can only bode well going into week 2 when that's conference schedule really starts to ramp up, and we know how difficult that field is on a nightly basis. So it's only going to get more fun. I think 4A is what we learn the most about here, and this top 3, 4, 5 is already kind of starting to solidify, and we can really see who
Yep.
these top level teams are. And I'm not trying to turn the calendar too much, but next Monday we could have 1 versus 2 at Principal Park, and maybe some more surprises with that game coming soon. But I'm not trying to get too excited. But I'm kind of looking forward to next Monday, when we might see a 1 versus 2 if this holds up going into next week, Andrew.
Oh my gosh, I think that this is going to be an epic showdown. We're looking. I certainly would love to bring that game to you as well. We're looking at what we can do there,
Yeah.
but this is going to be, I think it's going to tell us exactly where things are headed. Because again, the top 3, 4, I'd say, I agree with you, are solidified. But a 1 versus 2 Johnston Waukee, I mean, that's the only bad thing about that, Kate, is it's not state tournament,
Yeah.
and it's a state tournament worthy type game already. There's a lot here. Johnston proved that they just retool. They just get new guys in there. Again, I've heard scouts say I go to their JV games. I mean, Johnston just has that going for them. It's just a pedigree. Again, the story's been written for them. They would certainly like to. They would certainly like to end up on top, especially this year. But not. I think you're absolutely right. I love how you talked on with Bettendorf. Wrigley Mathis was in midseason form when I saw him at the PBR Spring League. He was there, and this team I think you nailed it. They're going to be rising up there as well. But man, oh man, oh man, if anybody is anybody, get out to Principal Park, check our feed, check our coverage. We'll be excited, and that's the only reason I would like to fast forward to next week. That's the only reason, because there's plenty enough to do here.
Absolutely. I mean, a potential 1 versus 2 this early, and we just had a 5 versus 1. I mean, Johnson, Iowa City High. These 4A
Yeah.
schedules are pretty nuts, and this week is only going to get crazier, and we're excited to see where these rankings shake out as we go into week 2. It's still very early. I know everyone looks at these and this makes or breaks their day, but man, we've got a long way to go, and we've got a lot to learn about these teams, and we know there's going to be some squads outside these top 16s that still have a lot of noise to make.
And they sure will. This could look. In fact, Kate, every year we've done this, the week
Yeah.
one rankings have always looked drastically different from when the season ends, because you never know what's going to shift around. Teams will come in and out of the rankings. Teams will remain up there. Class 4A has more routinely than not seen a consistency at the top, but my gosh, last year we saw a new crown champion. Last year was one of the first times in the last 5+ years that we didn't see Johnston in the title game. So there's a lot to know, that lot to think about when it comes to 4A, and this is a class that will always keep you on your toes as well. But and I should say that for all classes, week one, as you said, some people get up in all up in a tizzy about it, but don't worry. This is week one. You're getting the rust off. Some teams, like you said, haven't even touched a game yet. So there is still the story yet to be written. There's still the tale to be said about many of these teams, and we'll make sure to keep you covered with them throughout this time here. But again, any thoughts and more, ladies and gentlemen, hit us up. Again, this brought to you by RDA Financial, who helps to bring us our team rankings. And this is truly just I mean, at the very most, really fun time that we get to do this. And so again, we check with coaches, we check with all types of media members, we check, we do a thorough search. So if and again, we're never perfect. So any thoughts, hit us up, IAbaseball1@gmail.com, or hit us up on socials. We would love to. By the way, Cade, I think you'll agree with me on this one. I really, really love the engagement all across socials. Thank you,
Yes.
everybody, for giving us your thoughts, even opinions, videos, photos. That helps us a lot as we go through on our high and tight program. Gives us a chance to shout out those guys, and a big shout out to all of those who gave their nominations for
Yeah.
player slash performance of the week. So that is just a great thing to see. There's so much out there that we really thank you for helping us out. Cade and I are good, but there's only so much ground we can cover in one day, in one week. So thank you for making that a part of your day and engaging with us for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. 3,300 votes on that Facebook poll. I mean, looks like Yankovic might edge out a win over Brody Wangsness of North Butler. It's a fun way to get a lot of kids from a lot of different classes and a lot of different parts of the state some recognition that they very much deserve. So appreciate everyone for going and voting on that poll, and we'll be back next week, Andrew. How about I see you next Sunday?
Oh, look forward to it. I'll schedule it. I'll get some. I'll make sure I'm ready to go and rocking once again for that one.
All right, good seeing you, Andrew.
Take care.